everybody, it's Laura from Green Tree. Today we are talking about ketchup and mustard. Now, I know usually when you think of ketchup and mustard, you think of a little yellow bottle like this guy, or a big red one like this guy, which actually I love the ones that stand on the lid because it's so much easier to get the ketchup out. But today, that's not what we're talking about. Today we're talking about how easy it is to make these things yourself from scratch. It may or may not be something that you've ever tried, but since this is kind of grilling season, this is a really good time to go ahead and experiment with these condiments. So first I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history of each. Mustard, which is made from the mustard seed. These are brown mustard seeds. There's also yellow mustard seeds. This is something that the mustard seed originated, I believe, in India, but mustard, the condiment as we know it, didn't come around till a bit later. They started making it in Rome. Now, the thing about mustard is that it's inherently very spicy. Most of the mustard that we're used to getting in the United States, you know, like these little yellow mustards, are very, very mild compared to, say, a European style mustard. So what I actually did for you, if you want to come down and check out the sample today, was I'm going to flip this actually up because it's pretty thick. I made a spicy European style mustard. You can see the little spots in it. Those are the places where I used the brown mustard seed. I took this and just kind of busted it up a little bit in a spice grinder, and then also added some yellow mustard powder. This might be the way that a lot of people are familiar with buying mustard, is as this yellow powder for texture. All you really need to make mustard is mustard seeds or powder and a liquid. If you use water, your mustard will be very spicy. I mean, intensely spicy. This mustard is pretty strong, but the flavor will fade relatively quickly. Like after maybe 3 days to a week, it's really going to the heat's going to go down a lot. Whereas if you add something else in as part of your liquid, like vinegar, or when they first started making it, they would use the base for wine. Like the grape juice after it's been mixed and broken down, but before it's been fermented. But wine is actually an excellent liquid to use in your mustard as well. So if you use something else that's got that acid component, like a juice, like a citrus, like a vinegar or an alcohol, that will help fix the spice in the mustard, and it'll stay that way for longer and really store for a very long time. It's hard for mustard to spoil because mustard seeds have a lot of antibacterial properties. So, in order to make mustard, all you need to do is 1, have your mustard seed or mustard powder, 2, mix them with a liquid, and 3, let it sit at room temperature for 1 to 2 days. When you first mix up your mustard, if you're using whole seeds at all, it'll have a bitter flavor. And if you wait a day or 2, that'll soften up quite a bit. If you're just using the powder, sometimes you can get away with using it right away. You can vary it. You can make your mustard with honey. You can make your mustard with beer. If you really wanted to get adventurous, you could go ahead and take this mustard and like mix it into your other things like dressings to give them a real oomph. So mustard's really simple. I'm going to have a little recipe for the spicy brown balsamic mustard that I made. It'll be on the website later today after I finish the sample. So there's mustard. Now ketchup. I don't have as many things to show you for ketchup because the way that we eat ketchup now, it's almost always made from tomatoes, but that was not always the case. Ketchup actually comes from an Asian word that was more of a catch-all term for any type of thickened table sauce. Originally, mustards were typically made with things like fish paste, mushrooms, and walnuts. It wasn't until the 1800s that tomato ketchup started to really be more popular and come to the forefront. And now that's almost exclusively what we're talking about when we say ketchup. Ketchup is also very easy to make. There's a lot of long processes you can do where you're taking whole tomatoes and cooking them down. But the one that we went with today, and you can see this, I mean, it looks like ketchup. You can see it's got that thick ketchup-y texture. It slides a little when I tip the container, but it's relatively thick. And I did that with tomato paste, vinegar, sweeteners, in this case I used honey, and spices. So ketchup, all you really need for ketchup is it's a slightly sweet, slightly tangy tomato sauce. The most typical ingredients are, as I said, tomatoes or tomato paste. Tomato paste is the fastest if you don't want to have to cook it, and that's what the other recipe that I've got for you today, a little quick tomato ketchup. That recipe uses is tomato paste. So you're going to take the tomato base, and then you need to have vinegar for that tangy element. You can use a number of different kinds of vinegar. I actually used balsamic vinegar in this one, but apple cider vinegar, white vinegar, any flavored vinegar, those will all work just fine. So that gives you your tangy and then your kind of umami flavor from the tomatoes. And then you're going to add a sweetener. In this case, it's a blend of honey and molasses. Almost all ketchup recipes have molasses because it's a deeper, more intense type of sweetness. Let's see if I check this guy here. Well, so this one actually just has an organic sugar in it. And you can do that as well, but if you do that, you're either going to want to cook it or run it through a high-power blender to get it really smooth. So you need tomatoes, vinegar, sugar, and some kind of spices. So we actually took a little bit of a shortcut on my recipe, and you can see that again when I post it on the website, and use pumpkin pie spice. I know that sounds a little funny, but pumpkin pie spice works really well because it's got ginger, it's got cinnamon, it's got cloves. In this case, it has nutmeg typically, and that's another spice that is often called for in ketchup recipes. So instead of measuring out a whole bunch of different spices, you just put in a pinch or two of pumpkin pie spice until your ketchup is exactly how you want it. Unlike mustard, the ketchup doesn't have to sit for a couple days before you can use it. You just mix it up, it's ready to go. So you can do that the day of if you want to, and it's pretty cheap, pretty easy, and if you're ever trying to feed a crowd, it's a great way to kind of customize. You could go ahead and throw in some chili if you like things hot, switch up your vinegars. It's really the sky's the limit. So there you go. That's your primer on ketchup and mustard, how you make those at home. I'll have those recipes posted later, and in just a little bit when they come out of the oven, I'm going to be sampling them with Applegate gluten-free nuggets and Gardein vegan nuggets. So if you want to come down and try those, I'll be doing this till 5 o'clock or so today. Happy Monday!